ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فهو المهتد، ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، له الملك وله الحمد، يحيي ويميت وهو على كل شيء قدير. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم، ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. وأشهد أن سيدنا وإمامنا وقائدنا وحبيبنا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم هو القائل صلى الله عليه وسلم في الحديث الصحيح: كل أمتي يدخلون الجنة إلا من أبى. قيل ومن يأبى يا رسول الله؟ قال: من أطاعني دخل الجنة ومن عصاني فقد أبى. صلوات ربي وسلامه عليك سيدي أبا القاسم يا رسول الله، أنت الذي من نورك البدر اكتسى والشمس مشرقة بنور بهاك. أنت الذي لما رفعت إلى السماء بك قد سمت وتزينت لسراك. يا سيد العقلاء يا خير الورى، يا من أتيت إلى الحياة مبشرا وبعثت بالقرآن فينا هاديا وطلعت في الأكوان بدرا نيرا. فوالله ما خلق الإله ولا برى بشرا يرى كمحمد بين الورى. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك عليك سيدي يا رسول الله. ثم أما بعد. Surely we praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and we show our gratitude to Allah by thanking Him, by declaring His oneness, by declaring the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I bear witness openly that there is no one worthy of our worship except Allah, the Creator, the Sustainer, the Provider, the Cherisher, the one who created us. Then He ordered us to worship Him. And I bear witness that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is the messenger of Allah. And we are sending our blessings and our salutations to all the prophets and the messengers of Allah, starting Adam all the way down to Noah, to Abraham, to Moses, to Jesus, to Aaron, to all the prophets and the messengers of Allah, till we reach to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. My brothers and sisters in Islam, I just wanted to shed the light on something very important in Islam. And we think, some Muslims think, unfortunately, they don't know the values and the principles of Islam very well. That's why we should remind each other about the basics and the values, the essentials of Islam. Some of people think that only the modern life brought the rights of human beings to existence. And they do not know that Islam, 14 centuries ago, had established the rights of human beings. And even before that, all the legislations, all the shari'ahs that the prophets and the messengers of Allah came with, they came to talk, they came to establish the human rights. That is why I just wanted to share with you one of the hadith of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, just one hadith, but it has lots of lessons for us, and every Muslim should share this hadith should convey the message of Islam about what are our values, what are we sticking with. When it comes to this hadith, it is narrated by Jabir ibn Abdullah al-Ansari, and it is authentic hadith. It is graded as Hasan, means good hadith. And that hadith mentioned in Ibn Majah, in Sahih Ibn Majah, that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam one day had spoken with the group that they went and they migrated to Abyssinia. And as you know, that we had migration before the migration from Mecca to Medina. We had in Islam at the early days, for the early Muslims, they migrated from Mecca to Abyssinia, to Al-Habasha. And they went almost nearest to Ethiopia at that time. And they traveled, migrated, fleeing from the disbelievers of Quraysh, because they used to persecute them, they used to kill some of them, and they used to expel some of them. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam at that time gave the command to the companions to migrate to Abyssinia, and they lived long life over there. Some people think that when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam migrated from Mecca to Medina, that all the companions were in Abyssinia, that all of them came back, which is completely wrong. Some of them established their life there. And as we know that the king of Abyssinia at that time, that we call him the title of An-Najashi, and his name was Ashama, the An-Najashi, or the king, the president. He converted to Islam, he declared Islam, and he died on Tawheed, the monotheism, and he died on Islam. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shower him with his mercy as he supported Islam at the early days of da'wah. And Najashi Ashama, he supported Islam. But I just wanted to take you to another dimension. When the Muslims migrated from Mecca to Abyssinia, at that time, they didn't know the diversity in the communities. They didn't know the other cultures. And they were raised up in Mecca. But Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had taught them that there is no racism in Islam. Islam has no segregation. Islam has no discrimination. Islam does not differentiate between people based on race or gender or even religion or even age. But Islam treats people equally, and that is one of the teachings of Islam. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam raised up his companions on that way, on that behavior. But when they traveled from Mecca to Abyssinia, at that time they were exposed to many of the cultures. They didn't see Christian before. They didn't see, temples. They didn't see different religions. That's why everything was around them. It seems like it's amazing. It's something strange for the companions. So after they returned it back, some of them returned it back to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Rasulullah, and here's the hadith started. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, out of curiosity, out of learning his companions what to do, how to deal with the diversities in the community. He sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Ala tukhbiruni bi'a'jabi ma ra'aytum?" Will you not tell me about the strangest things that you saw in Abyssinia? Will you tell me about some of the stories, some of the amazing stories, some of the different stories that you saw in Abyssinia? Young group of men at that time, they were eager and they were excited. They said, "Ya Rasulullah, we are going to tell you." Then they started to tell the Prophet the story. They said, one day, while we are there in Abyssinia, we had an old lady related to the nuns. And she walked by us, carrying and holding a huge container of water. She just, was fetching the water for her family. and she was carrying that huge container over her head, and she was walking by us. And all of a sudden, we saw a young man who was very disrespectful, who was that type of youth who does not respect people, and because of her gender, because of her old age, because of her weakness, he placed his two hands between her two shoulders over her chest, and he pushed her. He shoved her. She fell down, and the huge container was broken, and she lost the whole water that she collected for her family. And when that lady stood up, she turned towards the young man, and she told him that phrase. She told him, سوف تعلم يا هدى حين يضع الله كرسيه ويجمع الأولين والآخرين سوف تعلم ما يفعل بي وبك غدا. She said, the old lady related to the nun, she said, سوف تعلم يا هدى. There will come a time that you, O Huda, and Huda means in the Arabic language, it's derogatory, term, equivalent to dollar. The one who is a killer. It's a derogatory term in Islam or in the Arabic language. She said, سوف تعلم يا هدى. You are going to know, there will be a time that you will know exactly. حين يضع الله كرسيه. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will place His throne. ويجمع الأولين والآخرين. And He brings together the first and the last of His creation. Means in the resurrection day. سوف تعلم ما يفعل بي وبك غدا. You are going to know that what my situation is and what your situation is. You will get to know on that day حين تتكلم الأيدي والأرجل. On that day, hands and feet are going to speak, are going to talk. At that day, you are going to know what my situation is and what your situation is. That was the story. So how Rasulullah had responded? Immediately, while Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is listening to the story, he used to say, after each sentence, he used to say, Sadaqat, Sadaqat, Sadaqat. She told the truth. She told the truth 3 times. And he said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, كيف يقدس الله أقواما لا يأخذ للضعيف حقه من قوي. كيف يقدس الله أقواما لا يؤخذ للضعيف حقه من قويهم. How will Allah will honor a nation that does not take the rights and take the rights back for the vulnerable and the weak if their strong people had taken advantage of them? If the strong people, try to oppress them, try to transgress them, how will Allah will honor a nation that keeps silent if somebody got oppressed? How Allah will honor the nation that they keep silent, they do not stand up, they do not speak up when something wrong will happen? He said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he spoke about al-du'afa, the vulnerable. He spoke about the elders. He spoke about the masakin, the poor, the needy, the sick people. He spoke about widows. He spoke about orphans. He spoke about, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, about those who are suffering in this life and they got attacked by racism. That's Islam. Islam had prohibited this. And not only this, Islam had made it the responsibility for the entire nation. How could Allah will change the nation while everyone is silent? How could Allah bring any good to the nation if all the nation kept silent to the elders, to the orphans when they got attacked, to those who have disability, if they got, race, or somebody had mocked of them, had made fun of them. If somebody started to divide the ummah, the community, based on the gender, based on the color, based on the country, based on the age, that's not in Islam. كيف تنصرون? Even Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam one day was teaching the companions. He said, do you want to know where exactly can you find me? Where can you find Rasulullah? He said, you will find me amongst the vulnerable. You will find me amongst the weak. You will find me amongst the poor. You will find me amongst the needy. That's Rasulullah. Then he said that statement. I need you to memorize it. He said, وَهَلْ تُرْزَقُونَ وَتُنْصَرُونَ إِلَّا بِضُعَفَائِكُمْ? Will you be getting victory or getting sustenance from Allah as rizq except by supporting your elders? That's Rasulullah. That is Islam. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam agreed with the old lady which is related to the nun. And he did not curse the young boy. No, he did not curse him. Yes, of course, he is disrespectful. He does not have the sense of courtesy, but at the same time, he directed us that that's the responsibility of the entire nation. It's the responsibility of the community. How many people they got bullied? How many people they got, bad situations in their life? How many women, how many sisters in troubles? And we know sometimes, but we do not speak. How many people got oppressed, transgressed? How many people, even in our community, they got bad situations like this? And you know what? The easiest way for us is to keep silent. No, that's not my business. I will not interfere. That's not my business. She is not my sister. She is not my relative. She is not from my country. And unfortunately, we started to divide our ummah based on the country, based on the color, based on, if he is from my country, then he is one of my family members. Imagine this, in one line in the masjid, how many nationalities that we have? Maybe in one line you have 3, 4, 5 nationalities. And we stand up at the same masjid, following the same imam, praying at the same time, almost reciting the same Quran. And yet, we still have that kind of segregation in somewhere deep in our hearts. And let me tell you clearly what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had said to the great companion who came one day and he said to the Bilal, to the mu'adhin of Rasulullah, the one who used to say the adhan. And think about this. Bilal ibn Rabah came from Abyssinia. He has the dark skin. and he came from Abyssinia. He's not from Quraysh. But Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, because of his iman and his closeness to Allah, he's giving him the instruction to go on the top of Al-Kaaba, our sacred place, on the top of Al-Kaaba. Why? To give adhan. To give adhan. He didn't give the flag to one of his tribe, to one of Banu Hashim, to one of Quraysh. He gave it to Bilal. That's the equality in Islam. No difference between Muslims. Sometimes we criticize, and I feel, wallahi, that's something strange. Sometimes we criticize this deficiency outside the masjid, and we say, you know what, Imam, we got attacked by some people are practicing racism because we are Muslims. But at the same time, sometimes we practice racism amongst the one community. And we think that we could change others without changing ourselves. Sometimes, still, we are calling each other's, you know, that man from this country, no, he's not like he's not a good brother, he's not a close brother to us because he is not from my culture, he is not from my country, he is not from that. And we started to divide our ummah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah Al-Anbiya, وَأَنَّ هَذِهِ أُمَّتُكُمْ أُمَّةً وَاحِدًا. That's your nation. It's one nation. That's the case. Sometimes we criticize this, but unfortunately, we practice some of this, I would not say based on religion, but sometimes based on the gender. She is a lady. She's not allowed to talk. She is not allowed to come. She's not allowed to say. She's not allowed to open her mouth. Why? Because she's a lady. Who told you this? Which religion is this? Sometimes, because you know what? He's still young. He's a young age, so we will not pay attention to his words. Who told you this? Sometimes we practice racism based on, you know what? That he does not talk Arabic. That's why his Islam maybe it's not correct. You know what? That one who does not talk Arabic, maybe in the sight of Allah is better than me and you. We need to wake up. We need to stop racism based on any matter. Let me tell you the Quranic verse that you memorize. I know this very well. You have heard many times. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, إِنَّ أَكْرَمَكُمْ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ أَتْقَاكُمْ. The best one amongst you, the one who has taqwa, the one who has the consciousness of Allah. That's it. That's it. Please, we need to revive the teachings of Islam, respecting the vulnerable, respecting the elders, show our love to one another, communicate, call each other, visit one another, to congregate in the masjid, to welcome one another. The one who is next to you right now is your brother. That's not my saying, that's not my statement. It's the statement of the Quran. When Allah said in Surah Al-Hujurat, إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ إِخْوَةٌ. The believers are brothers. Please pay attention to this. Spread the knowledge. And please do not perpetuate racism by just some words you might say, and your children will pick it up very quickly. And they will know that you are racist, but maybe in another way. In Islam, we have the command to respect each and every human being that Allah had created. In Islam, we should respect even the animals. Even the animals. And you know that Islam prohibited pork. Eating pork is prohibited in Islam, but we are not allowed to curse pork, the pigs. We are not allowed to curse or to hit, or even to hit with our carpet. That's the creation of Allah. Think about this. As you know, that the woman that Rasulullah had mentioned entered the hellfire because of a little cat that she did not feed. Another woman was taken to Jannah because of a sip of water she gave it to a little dog. Think about this. Our Islam is the religion of the mercy. We cannot promote, we cannot market for our religion while we ourselves still have some diseases in our hearts. May Allah correct our hearts. May Allah illuminate our hearts by the light of Imam. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala correct and fix our aqeedah. Allahumma ameen. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us to the right path. Ya Rabb al-Alameen. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله العلي العظيم لي ولكم. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن سيدنا وإمامنا وحبيبنا رسول الله محمد اللهم صل وسلم وبارك عليك سيدي يا رسول الله. My beloved, respected brothers and sisters, let's come together as one community to take out anything in our hearts still like cause the differentiation, the deviation between the community members. We are brothers. Step together, shoulder to shoulder. Show the love and mercy. Visit one another. Call one another. Take care of one another. If you have elders, call them. Check on them. Check on them. If somebody you didn't see for one Jumu'ah, for 1 day or 2 days, call them. Exchange your numbers. Exchange your numbers. We are one ummah. Our large nation, the 1.8 or the 2 billion Muslims, they will not be united unless we will be united. Our ummah, that's a very small sample of our ummah. Think about how many of brothers next to you that you know, that you call, that you text. Check on them. Have this relationship. Let's revive our religion and the teachings of our religion. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless all of us. Allahumma ameen. Allahumma اغفر لنا ذنوبنا وإسرافنا في أمرنا. اللهم توفنا مسلمين. اللهم حببنا إلى بعضنا. ألف اللهم بين قلوبنا. انزع اللهم البغضاء من بيننا. اللهم وحد صفنا واجمع كلمتنا وانصر الإسلام وأعز المسلمين. اللهم انصر الإسلام وأعز المسلمين. اللهم اعل بفضلك كلمتي الحق والدين. اللهم كل من أرادنا وإسلامنا بخير فوفقه يا رب العالمين، ومن أرادنا وإسلامنا بشر فاجعل كيده في نحره واجعل الدائرة عليه. اللهم يا ربنا نسألك في هذه الساعة أن توحد صفنا وأن تجمع كلمتنا إنك على كل شيء قدير. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. وأقم الصلاة. قوموا إلى صلاتكم يرحمكم الله.